PJ and Gary are with us to guess the handicaps as usual. We're going to do this is the last guess the handicaps until we do the All Ireland finals. So we're going to get both of them out of the way for the next 2 weeks. So we'll have we'll guess the handicap for the All Ireland finals, and we'll have a few other little things in there as well when we come back in a couple of weeks. But we're going to get the football and hurling done this week, lads. Gary is the champ. Here's the fixtures. It's Limerick, Waterford, Kilkenny, Cork, as we already talked about. But what a football lineup, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Dublin versus Mayo, Kerry versus Tyrone. You couldn't have asked for more. I have to say, I am buzzing for all 4 of these games.
Yeah. PJ is the champ, actually, by the way, Mick. Don't get that mixed up.
Did I win 4-0?
I thought you won it back last week, Gary.
No, he hammered me last week, didn't he? 4-0.
Yeah, that was the week before, wasn't it? PJ, you must know.
I can only remember my 4-0 victory.
Okay, well,
I've got the type of mindset. I don't remember the losses, you know.
Yeah, I have a tendency to dream about the guess the handicap slot as well. So maybe I mix it up. Okay, well, then PJ, for this incredible round of fixtures, we're going to go in order. So we're going to start with Saturday's game between Waterford and Tip. It's been confirmed that PJ is the champ, and that I as always get to the end of the show and completely mess up this slot. But PJ, you are the champ, which means you get the choice of whether you want to go first for Tip and Waterford or whether you want to let Gary have the honour.
I'll go first for Tip and Waterford.
Okay, you'll go first.
Waterford and Limerick, I think you mean.
Yes, I do. Waterford and Limerick, yeah, Tip are out.
I cannot.
No more mistakes. I've drawn a line under it here.
Long day. I can't wait for this game. I think this is going to be a cracking game. I think we'll probably see the All Ireland champions from this game. I thought Waterford were excellent against Tipperary in the last round. 3:25 in play was just sensational. It really was. They've got threats all over the pitch now. Like they had 13 scorers in all. 4 players scoring 1-3. They look like they've found like a midfield partner for Barron now, and Peter Hogan. Like after trying out several players there. Looks like it's a set position for Austin Gleeson, I hope. I'd like to see him kind of staying around where he is there at the moment anyway. I think that Limerick will be favourites, but I'm really interested to see what Waterford do. I think they could really, really give him a game. Obviously like a replay last year's All-Ireland final. Waterford won this game in the league. Wouldn't be sure how much that means. Like 4th week out in a row for Waterford. I think that like it's definitely a factor but they're such a young team, and they've been getting better. Like they really have been getting better, especially the last 2 games. I didn't think much of them after that Laois game. I mean, I was just thought, well, they hadn't really built on last year, but against Galway and Tipperary, they were superb. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they can do in this game. But yeah. I think Limerick will be favourites. I'm going to say Limerick -5. Actually, can I change that? Limerick -4. Limerick -4.
Okay, Limerick -4. Yeah, like in a weird way, like they played in the Munster final last year, they played in the All Ireland final, now they're playing in the semi-final. It's like Waterford have to win this one, and it has the potential to be an incredible rivalry because they're young enough to challenge Limerick on. But if I kind of feel like if Limerick win this again, Waterford are in a weird way, despite being probably the story of the season. By the time we're looking back on it, they'll be kind of a non-factor. This is a huge game for Waterford.
Yeah, and whoever wins between Kilkenny and Cork will have a bit of dressing room wall material there from PJ Brown anyway to say that the winner is definitely coming for this semi-final. But like you're saying, because Waterford are a great story and everyone's like praising Waterford, but then you kind of get the feeling too that I'm not saying nobody's going to give them a chance, but I'd say there'd be very few people that would actually tip them to beat Limerick this weekend. And like, to be fair, it is pretty much impossible to back against them because we've seen what they do to teams, even when they don't play well necessarily for half the game or more. So I think obviously Limerick will be favourites. -4 is probably about right. I'd say -5 I'll go for just because I think that's more likely than -3.
Maestro, please reveal for those listening on the podcast and not on the video, it is Limerick -5. PJ nailed it and then changed his mind, forcing Gary into the right answer. So you should have done there. You should have let Gary go first.
Probably.
Yeah.
We don't know. Gary could have gone -5. I'd say Gary would have gone -5.
I don't know what I would have went for, to be honest, PJ. I'm holding my cards close to my chest.
Limerick -5 is high, I would say, but you probably think fair. And again, if Limerick are winning late in the game, you think there is a potential for them to stretch away there, given it'll be very hard for Waterford with the 4 weeks in a row to keep the legs going in the last 5 minutes if it doesn't feel like the game's on. So that's something I think for people to watch out for as well. Cork and Kilkenny then, Gary, you're up with this one. Cork, 3 weeks in a row for them. As Shane was mentioned there a few minutes ago, they were probably pulling up against Dublin at the end. But Kilkenny have been waiting in the wings since a fairly handy Leinster final win against Dublin. But we kind of forget that, the last time we seen them in full flow, it seems like so long ago now, especially in a short season, was that brilliant match in extra time against Wexford.
Yeah. Kilkenny and Cork in the latter stages of the All-Ireland Championship. It's like 2005 all over again. But it's an interesting game because
they didn't play in 2005, though. 2004. Galway shocked Kilkenny in one of Brian Cody's 3 All-Ireland semi-final defeats ever.
Well, I should have been listening closer to Shane, but
I knew that.
I don't know. I think this game's kind of been overlooked just because of the fact that the other one looks so exciting, and I think a lot of people are kind of presuming that the winners of the All-Ireland will come from that one, like PJ. But I don't know, with this game, you just can't see Kilkenny losing an All-Ireland semi-final, can you? To Cork against whatever, but I know Waterford lost, caught them on the hop a little bit last year, but I think they're going to be right up for this. And Brian Cody, like Shane was saying, 18 All-Ireland finals lost, or semi-finals lost 3. So I don't know. I think Kilkenny will be favourites. Handicap, I'm going to say Kilkenny -4.
Okay. Kilkenny -4. To be fair to Gary, PJ, just because I had that dig, it was that was the only year of 4 that they didn't play each other in the All-Ireland final. So you're right in that it was kind of 2005-ish all over again, but not quite that exact year.
Fair enough. I'll take that.
Yeah. I think that I actually find this a very hard game to call. I think Cork have improved, not to the same level that Waterford, that Cork have improved through the year. Not that they haven't taken that same jump that Waterford have taken in the last few games, but they still look good. The defense is playing quite well. Patrick Collins, the keeper, debut season, I think he's starting to. He's looking like he's like a good replacement for Anthony Ashe long term. His puck outs have definitely improved. I think he's pulled off a couple of good saves here and there. In defense, O'Donoghue, Tim O'Mahony, or Downey, they're all playing well. That game against Dublin, I wasn't that impressed by them. I do wonder if Dublin had Owen O'Donnell in defence, they might not, those goals might not have been scored. I'm not so sure. Owen O'Donnell is probably the best fullback in the game, and you're missing him. He's such a big loss for Dublin. Kilkenny is interesting. I think they're still evolving a little bit. You were talking about how they slowly bring these kind of new players onto the panel, and maybe you don't even realize that. I mean, they've got that evolution as well, that every team is kind of adding that scorer from the half back line now. You have to have threats everywhere, and Kilkenny have kind of added James Maher, who didn't even start against Wexford, came off the bench, scored 2 points, scored 3 points against Dublin. That's another interesting step, I think, for Kilkenny. I think Gary went way too high here. I think it's probably closer to Kilkenny -1, but I'm gonna play the game on you here, Gary, and I'm gonna take Kilkenny -3.
I had a word with Shane before because I actually think this is a talking point, but I had to say, look, we can allude to it, but we can't give it away because the lads are waiting. It is, PJ's going to get the point. It is a scratch game. It is you could get the two teams are both evens to win the game. You can get Cork -1 on a kind of an alternative handicap, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a no handicap game, which I have to say, and that's what we're talking about, underrating Kilkenny with Shane, is I don't know if Cork have done enough for that yet. Now, we'll see how it goes. You could even tip Cork to win and still, I think, expect Kilkenny to be favourites, And I think in some ways, they deserve it. So, be interesting to see whether that's, what kind of a prophecy that is. Two great games to look forward to at the weekend. If you missed earlier on the show, if you're joining us live, Shane McGrath and myself looked ahead to both of them for a good 45-minute conversation that you can go back and listen to once this show is finished, or you can search the podcast, just search GAA embedded at Balls.ie and you will find it there. Now, onto the football, lads. We've got a bit of breathing space before these games come. Football teams get rests that hurling teams don't. And in fact, 2 weeks off for the likes of Kerry and Mayo, which is kind of unbelievable in this championship. But Dublin versus Mayo, Kerry versus Tyrone, it's the semi-finals I think everybody wanted in a way. And it's no offence to, you might have wanted Galway to win their individual kind of final, you might have wanted Monaghan to win, but when it comes to the actual overall picture, these are the fixtures we want. Dublin and Mayo, PJ, it's 1-1 here. You know, this is last year's All-Ireland final, many years All-Ireland final. We are talking about different teams, though, than 16 and 17 when this was the most thrilling rivalry in Irish sport. We're away from that. You know, they've met the last 2 years, but it feels like Mayo on the up, Dublin on the decline. Is it enough to arrest the difference that we had just, what was it, 6 months ago when we had 7 or 8 months ago when we had the All-Ireland final?
Yeah, I think Dublin have they're what we've seen so far. They're definitely not as effective a team as they were like in December. I'm not quite sure why that is. You could see in the game against Kildare, there was so many mistakes that you wouldn't have even seen like last year. Just like there was block shots dropped short, bad shot selection that you certainly wouldn't have seen under Jim Gavin, and they've probably crept in now. Maybe there's a little bit of, when they were playing under Jim Gavin. I mean, it seemed like it was such a high. Such a high intensity, like he demanded so much of players. Maybe when he leaves, you kind of, there has to be probably naturally a little bit of a drop in the level of players' demands on themselves. They're obviously still really, really good players. It'll be interesting to see what the Dublin lineup is like, because I think John Small back from a hamstring injury, really important player for them. He played 40 minutes, but I think it was he went off with a cut against his eye, or Merchant came on.
Yeah.
I think in that first half, if Dublin play like they did in that first half against Kildare, I think Mayo would have beaten them. If they'd been playing Mayo that day, maybe we would have beaten them. Kildare didn't quite they weren't as kind of consistent a team as kind of Mayo will be. In the second half, I think Dublin missed 9 shots in that first half of 18, I think, and they only missed 1 shot in the second half. So there was definitely a word ahead there. There was stuff was sorted out. Really impressive Mayo so far. They've so many players that are playing well, like Ruan, O'Shea, Mullen. The forwards have kind of stepped up. They haven't you wouldn't think that they don't have their best forward in Kilkenny O'Connor.
Yeah.
Some of my favourites, I still think. I'm going to say Dublin -3.
Dublin -3. Okay, it's funny. Mayo building. There's sort of 2 new teams being built here, and it's quiet in a way. In Mayo, you wouldn't think. I was just looking at it. If you think Kevin McLaughlin came on at halftime the last day, it was him, Aidan O'Shea, Keegan, and Diarmuid O'Connor. I think I might be missing one, but they were the only ones that were left over from that kind of 16-17 team that should have won an All-Ireland. They've quietly built a completely new team that are nearly as good. Henley in goal, obviously been the other one, and he was normally behind Clark. Whereas Dublin, Gary, the difference with them, I think this year is they've been evolving constantly, and they had that thing where I always point to Kilkenny when TJ Reid comes into the team as a young lad. It takes him 4 years to become. He's in and out of the team, and you don't realise how good he is until you see him with more responsibility. And Dublin have had constantly lads like that all the way through this. They've evolved all the time. But now it's we've got a load of lads coming through, and you see their bench that they used against Kildare. Other than Merchant, who would be starting if he was fully fit, you're thinking, I don't know much about these guys. It's not as if it's not like before where they've been around for 4 or 5 years, and we've seen enough of them to know these will be good when they get a bit of responsibility and you trust them. We actually just don't know with these guys. They could end up being great, but they've way less kind of to their name. We don't. I'm sure that Dublin are going to step this up the way everybody assumes they will now that they're out of Leinster. I can't see it. I don't understand why they're going to be so much better than they've been for the last 3 weeks.
And over the years as well, especially in games against Mayo, how many times have we seen the game be close and then Dublin go and have an explosive 10 minutes and bang on, throw on 1 or 2 subs, score 2 or 3 in the space of 10 minutes, win the game, and that's it. You can't really see them doing that at this time. Like the game against Kildare, their forward line was so, I don't know, lackluster, lacked energy. I don't know what it was. It was kind of boring to watch, and it's never something that you'd associate with Dublin. Even in games in the past when Dublin were dominating possession and teams were sitting deep, they'd still be like pinpoint accurate in their passes, men running off the shoulder. They just wear you down and wear you down. I suppose the difference is now they're trying to do that, but they're also kicking the ball into the goalkeeper's hands at the end of it or kicking it wide, whereas that would never happen before. So, and I think Mayo aren't going to let Dublin be like ponderous on the ball either. Like they have young backline there, young lads will be mad to get into this game. They're going to hassle and harry Dublin. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to that, because that's not something they would have faced in the championship yet either with the opposition they played in Leinster. So, like, I think it's a really interesting game. I'd love to see it come down to the last 5-10 minutes with a point or two in it either way, because I could just see anything could really happen from there. I think Dublin will be favourites, obviously, just because there's so much credit in the bank, as they should. -3 sounds right, but I think the Dublin tax may make it -4, so I'll go -4.
And PJ said -3. I was really into the analysis of it. I forgot about it. And look at this. The champ is not giving up his crown easy. It is Dublin -3. Good comeback so far from PJ. He's actually picked all 3 of them, but he just changed his mind on the first one. So moves us on to Kerry Tyrone. Look, I'm fascinated by the Dublin Mayo match. We'll talk in detail with Darren O'Sullivan about it next Monday, and we'll kind of look forward to it as the week goes on Balls.ie, starting even this weekend. Kerry Tyrone. Gary, you're up first on this one. I don't know, like Tyrone, you win an Ulster final. I don't know if it requires all that much analysis against a good team like Monaghan. There is plenty of it to look at. Whereas Kerry, their performance against Cork was so good in so many ways, and they blew them out of the water by so much that it's like we completely dismissed it. They were so good that it doesn't count.
Yeah. That's very true, because they were unbelievable in the second half of that game. It was the stuff they were doing up front was frightening. Like the way they were able to transition the ball from the half back line into the full forward line in the space of 5-10 seconds at times. Other times they'd be able to carry it, have lads run off the shoulder, like Cork, where it looked like it honestly looked like a senior team in a county playing a minor team. Like it was just men against boys out there, which is weird because when you consider that the lads in the Kerry forward line are all about 25 or younger. So this game is going to be fascinating. I'd say Tyrone will try and come out and hit Kerry hard earlier on and go at pace to try and test, are they battle hardy enough for a team, and obviously Tyrone have had a much harder route to this point in the championship. So I'd say they will play defensively though, because I know Tyrone were getting a bit of praise earlier in the championship for how they've kind of shifted this system, but I don't think there's much you can do. You kind of have to, against this Kerry team, you have to stop the ball coming into the full forward line. Now you have Paddy Clifford to worry about as well as the other lad inside. He's the one getting it in there. So I think Kerry will win, but it will be an interesting test to see if they are where we think they are in terms of is their game in tip-top shape. This will be a real test of that. In terms of the handicap, I think -3 for Kerry sounds right. I think.
BJRs I was thinking that maybe Kerry actually played more games than normal in that they were in the Munster first round this year. I wonder, are they glad of the couple of weeks break so they can have one of the famous A versus B games that we were just talking about with Shane to seriously to get a little bit more of a kind of a test of intensity. The game was over so early in the Munster final that they don't have the 70 minutes of that under the belt. They did hammer Tyrone in the league. I'm less inclined, I think, to think of that, to worry about that than some people. But Tyrone have come through a very tough Ulster Championship as always, and come through it well. Really, I think. Are you in any way worried?
No, I don't think I'm worried, but I think it's going to be a real test of Kerry. Like I that league game, like what did Kerry score? 6-15 to 1. I think Tyrone got 114. Like I don't. Tyrone have taken a couple of steps forward as a team since then. They weren't quite. They were trying to work on their attacking game at that stage. If you were to believe Aim Fitzmaurice, you would say that Tyrone did a full gym session on the day of the game. So I don't know how true that is.
That should have been in Finchie's 22 phrases, like, you know, that they trained that morning.
I run in the park as well, and a gym session. 2 training sessions before the match.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't. I wouldn't be reading too much into that game. Like this is going to sound like a very Kerry man thing to say here. Kerry won their 3 Munster games by a combined 50 points. But like, while they've looked good, I haven't been like, they haven't given a full 70-minute performance yet. I haven't been like super impressed with them. But they beat Clare by 17, they beat Tip by 11, and they beat Cork by 22. But like remember they were down by 6 points to Cork in like early on that game. Like when Micheál Martin saves that shot from David Clifford, there was a little bit of a deja vu back to last November.
Come on, PJ. It was the second biggest Munster final win in history.
Yeah.
The biggest in 101 years. And you're not impressed with them.
Like I don't think they've given a 70-minute performance yet.
But they gave a great 60-minute performance.
Yeah. Okay. Look. Yeah. Yes. I would say they've been very, very good. I just say I haven't been super impressed with them yet. I don't like. I think they have a lot of. There's still a lot of. They still have to get better. They're like, this isn't the complete kind of Kerry team. We haven't seen a complete Kerry performance yet. David Clifford didn't score from play against Cork, and which I think Padraig Campsey in this game he's going to be studying what Sean Meehan did to David Clifford there, how he kept Clifford got 1 point from a free. I think they'll also be looking at kind of what Brian Hurley did to Jason Foley, and how they did kind of damage to them early on. They did put Brina Brigley back, I think, on Brian Hurley after that, and he kind of Kerry took control of matters then. That game, like the game against Cork as well, I think it was interesting that Kerry started with what was essentially 3 midfielders. They had Diarmuid O'Connor, Jack Barry, and David Moore, and that Diarmuid O'Connor went off injured. They would I don't know what the injury situation is with him. He's become like a very, very important player for them now. So we'll probably like see out like kind of next week for whether he'll be as a player or not. Yeah, I think Kerry -3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say like a little bit closer. I'm going to say Kerry -2.
Oh no, it is unbelievably, and I suppose why I've been going on so much about. Somebody here saying that Kerry will win by 5, Jack Nulty, and he's a lot closer to it, lads. It is Kerry -6. Dressing room wall, or what? That's incredible. I think that, again, maybe that's why I was going on about the league being a little bit, being taken a little bit too seriously. Lads, I'm frantically going to get a tie break here because we don't have one. Okay, I am going to look for. If I could just give me 2 seconds.
There's an under-20 semi-final this weekend, I think, between Down and Roscommon. Yeah.
I don't think I've got a handicap on it. I do. Okay, here we go. PJ, considering he bailed us out, gets to pick whether he goes first or second on Down versus Roscommon in the under-20s All-Ireland semi-final.
God. I'll let Gary go first here. God, is that cowardly? I don't know.
Thanks for that,
Gary, who big fan of Roscommon, as we know, Athlone man. They like both sides of the bridge. When you're from Athlone, you're a big fan of both Roscommon and Westmeath. That's what I heard, anyway.
Yeah, definitely not. But I don't know what I know. Roscommon have been going quite well. Obviously, they won Connacht. I like Down like that game last week or whenever it was with against Monaghan. Obviously, everyone knows the circumstances around that. So like. That would have been a huge emotional drain on not only Monaghan but Down as well. So it'd be interesting to see how teams react. Like I'm kind of shooting in the dark here because obviously I didn't know this was going to come. I'm guessing Ulster is stronger than Connacht in general. So I reckon that Down might be favourites because of that. So I'm going to say Down -1.
Okay, PJ. There might not be a lot to say here, but
I did watch Roscommon actually. they were very good. They beat Mayo by 7 points in that Connacht final. This is a very hard one to call.
Another death dog on the show.
Yeah, since Gary went down -1, I'll just go on the other side. I gotta say, I throw out all my knowledge about this game here. A Down team managed by Conor Laverty. That's all I know about this Down team, really, apart from that they beat Monaghan in the semi-final. I gotta say Roscommon -1.
Okay, Roscommon -1. Gary says Down -1. And the winner is Gary. It's Down -2. Wearing the Down colours really came, that was a lucky coincidence, I would say, on the day. Right, so our best the handicaps, or guess the handicaps of the year. So much from a mistake-free finish to the podcast. Gary wins it 3-2 after extra time and goes into the All-Ireland finals with, I'd say, a commanding lead in the series, but it's he who laughs last in this one. So the lads will be back with us in a couple of weeks. We'll be back on Monday with a review of the hurling semi-finals with Shane, and we'll look ahead to the 2 football semi-finals as we just whetted your appetite there a little bit. We'll have Darren on to look ahead to Dublin Mayo and to Kerry Tyrone. Join us then. Also, just as PJ mentioned, Pádraig Campsey there a couple of minutes ago, stay tuned to Balls.ie this week, as Maurice Brosnan's embedded article this week will be about Hampsey and about man marking and who the best man markers are in football. So that's an interesting one to look at, especially with the Kerry Tyrone game in mind coming this week. Right, so back with you Monday. Enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a hell of a weekend of hurling.